To the next panel, Practical Wisdom, Indigenous Knowledge Guides the Way Home. Lawrence, Osprey, Anita, and Shia.
So I am sitting here with three amazing women that I have most recently met who are doing such beautiful work in the world. And I believe this is the last of the evening before we move into song and a little bit of deeper embracement with the community. And so I would like to have everybody take a little pause here for a moment. I know that our left brains are probably pretty close to implosion at this point, and there's been an incredible 3 days of beautiful information and incredible thought leaders who have shared such wonderful stuff. And I'd like everybody to really come to attention for a moment. And if you could hold the intention here of what we're doing here with this wonderful group of women as ceremony. Because for me, getting to know these women and getting to know each of you and the work you're doing in the world this is a ceremony that we are going to be providing for you as a blessing for each one of you to take your work, and as Sally was so beautifully saying, each of your essence out into the world and coming together with courageous collaboration to make the world a better place. So if we can hold the space, I'd actually like to start for one moment of, if we can do maybe 30 seconds of just silence and holding a space and envisioning the world first as you see it today. And as you view the world as you see it today, I would like to impress upon you, with every ounce of energy my soul has to give to you, that you do everything possible to move from negativity, to move from labels, them, us, we're doing it right, they're doing it wrong, and really move to a place of understanding where we are today, but viewing where we are today with a level of positivity. I don't know about you guys in your personal life, but any good, solid transformation or big transformation in your life is never pretty, right? And we're in the midst of that today. But if you stay awake during those transformations, we know what can happen. The second is to vision really what the world you wish to see. Just hold that in your space for a moment, knowing that each of you matters so deeply in this web of interconnectivity, that without each of you and each of your voices, this cannot happen, because we are not separate. And we all have a very specific piece in this tapestry of this amazing, beautiful time that we've been all called together. And the third is really collaboratively, knowing that we move beyond this lower mentality of competing against each other, using capital as weaponization, all of those things that we know is so wrong. And we come together and we ask each other, how can we help you? How can I help you? And knowing that those small little words that we ask is the true essence of collaboration as a species. And now I'd like to bring you all back into the room for a moment, and I am going to ask each one of these panelists who they are and why they're here. And I don't mean well, I graduated college in 19 whatever, and I have this degree, right? I mean, what is your soul screaming?
First of all, thank all of you for still being here at this hour. You're still standing, so you're the true troopers here. I want to dedicate my comments to the Indigenous women I know on the front lines of climate change. And it's not something that we discussed since we've been here, but I really want to remember that there are women, Indigenous women particularly, right now protecting their territories, their forests, their water, their lands, and they're on the front lines. And that's all of our forests, all of our water, all of our lands. And that's my true spirit, is to protect the land and defend the defenders of the land. And I'm going to share a brief story in dedication of the land defenders. One of the things, and Sally mentioned this a little bit, is how important it is in Indigenous people's world to remember original instructions and how to live in harmony with Mother Earth. And I've learned so much from a lot of the elders that I've had the honor to be with and spend time with. And so many of these practices have to do with really understanding reciprocity, something that we have forgotten, that you don't take more than you need. We have such a top-heavy culture right now where we're taking and taking and taking, and we're not giving back. We're not being respectful of the natural laws of Mother Earth, or we wouldn't be here. And that's a big behavioral change. And these different worldviews and cosmovisions, particularly the one I'm going to share tonight is coming out of South America from the Uwa people. And they are in the cloud forests of Colombia. And this was told to me by a very powerful woman, a young woman leader who is a representative of the Uwa people, who was at one of our events, at one of our Women's Earth and Climate Action Network events, and she was reflecting upon a story told to her by her grandparents, and that is carried on in the Uwa people's tribe. And she said, in the beginning, the Creator established and created the earth in equilibrium, and in the heart of the Uwa people left an original message, instructions to care and protect Mother Earth. Protecting the earth thus became the central mission and center of the Uwa mind, body, and spirit. So this is their way of life, but oil companies came to their territories, and the Uwa knew immediately that they had to speak out in defense of the land. And they had no misunderstanding about the perils of extraction, because at this point, neighboring peoples, of course, had fossil fuel extraction on their territories. And this young woman explained to us, for the Uwa, the oil, so just keep this in mind and how important this is to all of us. In their belief system, as many Indigenous peoples I've talked to, the fossil fuels, the oil, the gas in the ground, the coal, is like the blood of Mother Earth. It is vital to life. If you take out of the blood from the earth, you take the fossil fuels out of the ground, the whole planet will die, including human beings. You have to keep it in the ground. In this sense, she said, we must gather our strength and unite in defense of the earth, in defense of life. All of us together, black, white, Indigenous, old, young, all of us, she said. So when Occidental Petroleum came to drill for oil in their lands in the 1990s, the Uwa people protested, stating that they preferred, they preferred collective suicide on themselves than to watch the destruction of their community and lands. They said it would be a worthier death than at the hands of the exploiters. And their fierce stand to say that they would have collective suicide rather than have fossil fuel extraction in their lands, in addition to support from international groups, moved very much by the Uwa's powerful dedication and message to the world, generated a very successful result. And in 2002, Occidental Petroleum withdrew from their territory. So I wanted to share that story because that level of dedication, of understanding, putting your life on the line, is something that I think that is really important for us to understand, and that people are doing that and that they will continue to do that, and that we need to defend the debtors of the land. And I'm just going to close with one thing, and then I'll pass it down because I know we don't have a lot of time, is 80% of all the biodiversity left on Earth is in the lands and hands and caretaking of Indigenous peoples. So one of the things that I think we can go home with is to understand 80% of that biodiversity means that we need to all stand up for Indigenous rights and Indigenous peoples. It's their knowledge, but it is also their rights that we need to defend. Thank you.
Thank you. Anita, I would like to ask if you would maybe talk a little bit about the eagle and the condor, if that makes sense, and you can speak about what's in your heart right now instead, and then lead to that if you need
Yes, I will. Me llamo Doctora Anita Luisa Teresa Medina Sanchez. You can call me Anita. I'm also known as Graceful Warrior. And in the Amazon, I'm known as Mukasawa, which is a bird that speaks the languages of all the birds. And so, to me, it makes sense that as a young girl at 3, my earliest dreams that I remember that I continue to dream was of the earth and stick people of all different sizes and colors, but they had their hands on each other's hearts. So it was in that dream that I knew that's what I was going to do when I grew up. But I also knew there were many of us, if not millions. So I wonder, as I've been here the last 3 days, it's in my heart, is whether you are some of those people. So it is time. There are many prophecies from different traditions, Indigenous people all over the world. They're unfolding. And we are opening up our hearts even further. And it's scary. And the fear is not our death. And the fear is not our power. The fear is our precious relations, the two-leggeds, will destroy themselves. In spite of the fact, for hundreds, not thousands of years, we have stayed connected to the earth, to the water, to the winged, to every being, to the sacred. And in our ceremonies, when we do those, when you talk about these women and the men, we know that we weren't doing it just for preserving our culture or the place that we live. Many of these tribes, my people, Indigenous people around the world, know they will not go on. And they're not sad or angry about it. What they're proud of, they say, but our medicine will continue. This forest will continue. And they're doing that for all of us. So part of the tears is I'm definitely an optimist, and I believe in the prophecy. And so one of them is the eagle and the condor. And I'm wearing from a Wallapai auntie who beaded this when I spoke at Pioneers a few years ago. Afterwards, one of her relatives came over. They said, "This is yours. You are carrying the eagle and the condor." Which, how many of you know that prophecy? Raise your hand. Yeah, that's a good number of hands. I'm going to really abbreviate it because it's another prophecy I want to leave you with too. And the prophecy is that there's a time that the eagle and the condor were flying together, and then there was a split. And a split, they talk about it at different times that occurred, a colonization 500 plus years ago. It varies from different parts. But this prophecy comes mostly from the Andes, but it's worked its way in different parts of the world. And the prophecy goes that the condor, the people of the South, keep the original knowledge, and they keep connection for the heart, to the earth, to the water, to all the beings. And they reach an apex where this is so clear and so strong, so powerful, more true than you could have imagined, But it doesn't matter how strong and powerful they get, because there is also the eagle. And the eagle are the people of the north who have this incredible intelligence in terms of the brain, the mind. And they're able to create things that spread like a web all over the earth. But they have not connected to the earth, to the heart. And so no matter how strong they get, they will destroy because they are not connected to the heart. So the prophecy goes, and the prophecy is that this is the time. We have no other time. In every spiritual ceremony that I have been in, which is 8 profound, I'm talking 8 weeks of ceremony in just the last few months, is that it's time for the eagle and the condor to fly together again. And so that's why I wear this, is to remind us that we are one hoop of life. The hoop of life doesn't know us and them, it only knows we. And we do not have to be frightened about me, because me is included in we. The problem that has happened is we're about me and we isn't there. And we can't do that any longer. So we have to hold the poles, and as thought leaders, as part of these folks that are having their hands on each other's hearts, that we live that out. Now, the last prophecy I want to share, because I know our time is short, but you must know this. In every one of these ceremonies, there were some themes that came through, whether it was in South Africa or Kyrgyzstan and the foothills of the Himalayas, or in Findhorn, Scotland, or Hawaii, or in New Mexico. I mean, there's been so many. There's gatherings that are happening now, and they're happening all over the world. Indigenous people from different parts coming together and sharing ceremony. But another thing that's happening is their brothers and sisters who are not Indigenous are being invited too. They're being invited because there is only one hope. But how do we remember this oneness? It's not about getting rid of science, because science can't put in there and be objective and not have spirit, love. We need science. But we need to know about compassion and empathy and love. How do we do this oneness? So the prophecy is the eagle hoop prophecy. In that prophecy that was given to us in the 90s, 27 elders heard the call all over the world, came together at Turtle Mountain, Chippewa. And that weekend, there was no fighting. There was only singing, dancing in their own languages, prayer, quiet meditation. And they built this hoop out of a tree branch and hung 100 eagle feathers from it. And at the end of the ceremony, they put into the hoop 4 gifts that Spirit told them to put in there for the human beings, not just Indigenous people, for all humanity. To remember. It is time we must remember. If we want to get out of the great winter time for the spring, we need to prepare now. So the 4 gifts for all of us to use, so that we remember how to be in right relationship with ourselves, each other, and when I say each other, I mean not only each other two-legged, but with the water and the earth and all the beings. The 4 gifts are: please, with your open hearts that you have now, and we don't leave your minds behind, we can't afford any more separation, so bring it all right now. The gifts are the power to forgive the unforgivable. Let that set in your heart. What yet has to be forgiven? The big things and the little things, the new forgivings that have to come and you let go of. The power of unity. Unity it'll take, that's the second gift for all of us. All of us are needed in this. Heard Sally talking about can't leave anyone behind. Heard a number of you in giving your solutions. It's going to take all of it. Some may think that we have the one. The reality, it's all of this. It's all of this. The third gift is the gift of healing. And healing isn't something you go to the pharmacy and take. Go ahead and use that. But when I'm talking about the kind of healing, it's a process, it's rarely an event. And we get to use that gift every day. And the 4th gift to use is the gift of the power of hope in action. And I'm delighted and filled up these days because everyone's talking about action. And not just talking, they're being in action. And in these ceremonies, in all parts of the world, what is coming through that is one of the themes. The Spirit is not telling us that it's over. In fact, Spirit is telling us the earth will go on. It's whether we choose for the two-leggeds. So please use the gifts to help us remember. Remember that we are part of the Herbalife, not separate from it. Thank you.
Hola, mi nombre es Shia Bastida. Yo soy de las montañas de México y ahora me encuentro aquí con ustedes. Hi everyone, my name is Shia Bastida. I am from a beautiful land back in Mexico that used to be a lake, and now that water is gone, but we're fighting for it to get back to us. When we talk about individual change and collective change, when we talk about how both are important for this movement, what we mean when we say collective change is oneness, and that's been said over and over again. When we say individual change, we don't mean bring your own fork and spoon. That's important. What we mean is for you to connect with what you're protecting. What we mean is for you to ground spiritually with what you're protecting. To connect your mind and soul with the consciousness that we all have to share. And it cannot be a chaotic consciousness like we've heard before. It has to be one of love, action, and hope. Right now, we are encountering ourselves with a system that is linear. We have an economic system that is linear, a linear system of growth, and it's uncontrollably wanting to grow more and more. That type of uncontrollable growth is another word for cancer. This is unhealthy, and we have to recognize that. We need to go back to living in cycles. Cycles with the earth, cycles of harvesting, cycles of water, cycles of rain. And that is what we need to go back to. And it is the biggest challenge that we have faced as humanity. But this challenge has only been around for a few years compared to how long we've been here. And the other important thing is to recognize the power that Indigenous knowledge has. Back in my town, a university was built on a wetland. And that land had been cared by Indigenous people for so many years, and they told the architects to not build it there. The water is going to come back and your university is going to sink. But this smart institution came in and built the university, and now the university is sinking. How do you do that? How do you do that to yourselves? We as a human species, how do you do that to ourselves? So we need to connect mind and body and soul for this to move forward. And we need to connect young and old from all over the world. And that is why we kids need to listen to our elders, because they hold the knowledge that we need to move forward. So the message that I want to leave you with is acknowledge the original philosophy of taking care of the earth because it takes care of you. Reciprocity. Receive and give, and don't take more than what you need.
Beautiful. So we have about 5 minutes left from this wonderful long pilgrimage we've all been on. And sure. So I'm going to give everybody a chance to have another quick comment. And the theme here, of course, that we're all understanding which of course we can't understand from our minds, is that we all are one. And so when I hurt you, it's not some ethereal sort of intellectual conversation about how if I overuse some resources, it's going to hurt somebody else, because somebody else is me. This is not an intellectual endeavor. This is something, a prayer that all of us here are wishing to give to everyone here as a blessing as you move out to the world and do all of your parts that you're doing so beautifully to make the world a better place. And I will also say, before I hand it down the line here one more time, this is an incredible time where we're all being called. Have you guys, do me a favor, raise your hand if you've noticed the incredible amount of synchronicities that are happening, pulling us all together. Is it crazy? I mean, it's gorgeous. You try to tell people this who aren't in this flow, and they're like, wow, you're wacky, right? But we get it. So raise our heads up in this river, in this flow, celebrate, and don't forget to have fun. In all, right? In all of this heaviness of statistics, that's very important. But we're all here together to have fun and know that we're all being called at this very special time to come together to make the world a better place, and all of us matter. So what I'd like to do is come through with each of you, and let's start with Shia. And please, from your heart, whatever you're feeling in this group, in just a few words, or maybe a minute or less, to share from your heart, deep from your heart.
I am happy to see that everyone's heart here is open. And I know that it's not open often, because sometimes we're scared of what happens when our heart is open. But when that happens, we need to connect, and we need to be aware of the feeling that we're feeling right now. And one of the most important things is to take care of ourselves and take care of each other, to regenerate our spirit so that we can keep going. So that's my message. Take care of others, because that's taking care of you, and that's taking care of the planet.
If you could lower your eyes, and as you lower them, I want you to imagine your heart, and your heart is already expanded beyond your body, and just keep putting in all the things that you love, feeling in a very somatic way, energetic way, just how powerful you are. And the energy and that power of the love in your hearts connects it with all the others in this room. And I want to just close the message with hearing words from the wind and words from Seneca language, so we can have some of the language here. The Lakota have been so wonderful every morning to bring Indigenous language that the earth loves to hear. And the words I'm going to sing is just one time, rather than to the 4 directions, but it'll be part of my practice later this evening. And it is said, thank you, great mystery. So with all the science and with all the knowing, also put in the heart the love of all the wonder of the mystery of the things that are taking care of us, that love us, that we cannot put in numbers, that it's even hard to put in words. Da da ne ho, nya nya swami ho, swaya swami ho. I have to sing it 3 more times. Da da ne ho, nya nya swami ho. Ya ya swami ho, da da ne ho, ya ya swami ho, ya swami ho. And to the 4th direction. Da da ne ho, da da ne ho, nya nya swami ho, nya nya swami ho. Gratitude.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'll just make a brief closing after that beautiful prayer. Thank you so much, Anita. I want to leave us with a thought that comes from Indigenous people of Ecuador, because I feel that along with so many visions that have been shared powerfully over the last days, there's a beautiful, I don't want to call it a concept because it's too mental, because this is really a societal, cultural, spiritual, deeply heartfelt way of living that they call sumak kausai, buen vivir, living well, or sometimes the Dene or Navajo call it walking in beauty. And it's this whole idea of how we live in harmony with nature. And I think it's really important, so it's not just talking about what we don't want, but envisioning a way of living of what we do want, sumak kausai. And it involves also this idea of reciprocity that we're talking about, and how we live in our true nature with the water, with the forest, with the animals, with the plants. And it's very, very deep understanding also of what progress means. And that's why I wanted to share this, because one of the things that we're struggling with in modern society, in our quote-unquote civilization, is this idea of growth and progress. And so I want to offer this idea of sumak kausai because it's small is big. It's the smallest thing in the world. It's about love. It's about creativity. It's about progressing. It's about sharing poetry. It's about singing. It's about ceremony. It's about deeply studying the birds right outside where you live, even if you live in the city, about understanding the stars and the moon and the ocean and the tides and the water and the forests and the squirrels and the dolphins and the whales and all the beings, and really becoming knowledgeable and progressing as human beings. So we can have that feeling of growth and expansion and that learning that we also desire, but not in the material world, not by having more stuff, but progress with our own creativity, our personal growth, and our love and knowledge of being human beings and being different kinds of human beings. Because to really get through this tiny keyhole we're looking at right now, to the other side of this crisis, we're going to have to be different kinds of human beings. And so I just offer this idea of sumak kausai, and just say that. Just wrap your tongue around that. Sumak kausai. Sumak kausai. Living well. Living well. Living well with the nature and living within the natural laws of Mother Earth, and really having the natural laws and Mother Earth's carrying capacity be our guide, and not this rapacious economic and legal framework that has really driven us off the cliff. So let's remember to live in harmony with Mother Earth's laws. Thank you.
Thank you. And so now we will close, and I would like to honor this morning's beautiful opening from our Lakota folks, and who brought us into ceremony this morning. And now I would like to honor this in closing. And I would like to do this in a way where we move towards prayer. And so prayer is a wonderful way for us to move our intentions beyond our rational mind. And I would like for us all to, for the next minute, to close our eyes and vision this web of all of us together being called, and visioning this beautiful, beautiful future in 10 years. Not destruction, but beautiful, beautiful future in 10 years of where we're all together, and whatever that means in your own spirit. So let's begin. Good evening. Go do good.